Today we're talking about the full moon on July 10th, 2025 in the sidereal sign of Sagittarius. Jupiter is known as the guru and is the great teacher in our chart. And wherever he is placed will reveal many things, but one of those things is your knowledge, right? So the word knowledge is best understood through this 3-9 axis where Jupiter rules Sagittarius, the natural 9th house, Mercury rules Gemini, the natural 3rd house, and this axis deals with that dynamic force of knowledge itself. See, in Gemini, we're very curious. We're seeking information. It's where information comes to us through communication, but it's also the information that we seek out, and it's almost like a quest, a search for knowledge in Gemini. It's very curious and ruled by Mercury. Mercury is the thinking mind, so you have that inquisitive nature going on in Gemini. Well, then when you look opposite to Gemini, you have Sagittarius. So that's where this full moon's taking place. And you have the ruler Jupiter. Jupiter is the guru, he's the teacher. And so it's what you do with that knowledge. The information in Gemini is reflecting back to Sagittarius, the 9th house of higher learning. And so we have this dynamic force going on that represents knowledge, our understanding. And when the full moon is in Sagittarius, it's representing an illuminated mind. It's focusing on what we know, what we believe, and it's where we're guided to reflect on what we know and to understand and how that knowledge and perspective that we have shapes our life, how that internal viewpoint that we have shapes our external world, right? Because everything is a reflection of what we project out into the world that is reflected back to us. So if we look at the 1st and 7th house that deals with relationships, what we project ourselves, 1st house is reflected back to us, 7th house, through our relationships. And so if we're looking at the 3rd house, the third and 9th house axis, the 3rd house is the information that we're putting out there in the world, the things that we're communicating. It's our ideas, it's our interests. And those things are reflected back to us through the 9th house, through our understanding, through the information that actually gives us knowledge and wisdom to act upon, right? Because after the 9th house comes the 10th house. The 10th house is the house of action and karma. It's where we are recognized. It's where we have and build a public reputation. And if those actions are not based on true beliefs, right, beliefs that we feel connected to, then those actions will be inauthentic. And so this sun in Gemini, which is how the full moon is taking place, sun's in Gemini, the moon is in Sagittarius, so we always have this sun-moon opposition with a full moon. And this is bringing awareness to the information that we consume and how it's shaping our beliefs, how it's shaping our outlook. So that moon in Sagittarius is like holding up a mirror to that information, and we must ask ourselves, are my beliefs my own, or are they someone else's? See, another dynamic force that operates between these two houses is confirmation bias. So how many times do you hear something and it aligns with what you already think and what you already believe, and so you accept it as truth? But really what we should be doing is questioning it, right? We should be saying, okay, this matches what I think and believe, but is it true? And it's our diligence, it's our duty, it's our responsibility as individuals to verify that as truth. And so many of us walk around holding other people's beliefs, holding other people's ideas. And so this full moon is a time to reflect on the ideas that you hold as beliefs. Are they your own? Right? Is it your favorite influencer? Are you watching them and do they say the things that you want to hear? Right? That's what this axis is activating. So wherever you have this full moon in your chart is going to be activating the knowledge of that house, that theme in your life. So if Sagittarius is your 10th house, this is going to be activating your knowledge around your career, around the actions that you take. If it's in your 7th house, it's going to be activating your relationships, the knowledge that you have that is coming to you through your relationship. So think about that. If it's in your 8th house, Sagittarius, it's going to be hidden knowledge. It's going to be things that are hidden that may actually be part of an insecurity or a fear. So look at the house where Sagittarius is in your chart, and then also always connect the houses, right? They're never alone. They're always connected to that opposing force, which is Gemini. So wherever that Sagittarius Gemini axis is in your chart is showing this hidden dynamic force of knowledge, of your beliefs, of what's shaping your perspective and how you ultimately act and behave based on those things. So another thing about Sagittarius is it's the sign of confrontation. And it's actually where we see things like religion and beliefs and spiritual quest. And these are all topics that are the source of many wars, many conflicts among humans, right? We are constantly debating and fighting. These countries are based on religion. It's such a foundational source of confrontation. So, in fact, the nakshatra that begins Sagittarius is Mula, which is the symbol of the root, right? So, like a plant, the root is that underlying system that feeds the leaves and the stems and the flowers. But below the surface, the roots are absorbing the minerals and the water and supplying life to that plant. So just like we take in information that is forming our roots, that's forming our foundation of our perspective, of our world view. So it kind of seems like common sense, but that internal foundation of your life is responsible for shaping your external outcomes. And this 3-9 axis, this Gemini Sagittarius in the zodiac, in the chart, is representing that. So if you study this axis in your chart, it can reveal the knowledge that you have in your life that you're basing your values on, and also will show and indicate how you learn, how you understand. So study where Jupiter is in your chart, study where Mercury is. These are the two planets that are forming your reasoning and your understanding. They're very, very important. And another thing to remember is that Mercury is very impressionable. So if you have influences on your Mercury, look at that as well. Also with Jupiter is like your guiding light. It's kind of like our lighthouse, right? It shines a light. It gives us hope and optimism, and within that can also be that confirmation bias that forms, where we are so rooted in what makes us feel comfortable and what we believe that we're not being curious, we're not engaging that opposite house, that Mercury, to be curious and to explore possibilities and to search for the truth always, right? And the 9th house actually represents the truth. It's a Dharma house. Sagittarius is symbolized by the arrow, the bow and arrow, right? It's the half man, half horse symbol shooting an arrow. So the metaphor of this arrow is our aim in life, right? You aim the bow. What are you aiming that bow towards? And what we aim for will determine what actions we take to achieve that aim, right? I was just talking about the 10th house, where we take actions based on our beliefs. And if we're uncertain about our beliefs, or if those beliefs are based on what someone else is saying, if we haven't done the Gemini work, right? If we haven't done the questioning and the scrutinizing of that information, then what are we acting on? Are we acting based truly on our beliefs that are connected to our heart, right? Our dharmic path. And those beliefs influence your actions either consciously or unconsciously. So you will act based on your beliefs, whether you are aware of them or not. So this full moon is bringing focus to that awareness. It's saying, hey, now sit, think about it, become aware. That is the most power that you can have over your mind, is to be aware. So let's take a look at the actual chart of this full moon. And just like reading a natal chart, the moment that the moon and the sun are in exact opposition will be the chart that I'm looking at here. And in Vedic astrology, you don't just look at the ascendant chart, you also look at the moon chart. So I'm using the moon as the first house. So in this case, we have Sagittarius ascendant as the first house, right? So moon's in Sagittarius. And we want to look at the relationship of the other planets to the moon. And we want to see if there's any influential aspects or combinations going on. So let's read the Chandra Lagna. In this chart, the moon is ruling the 8th house, which represents hidden knowledge, transformation, sudden events, psychology, research. It's also our fears. And Mercury is present here. So this is adding that influence of our thinking mind with quick shifting thoughts that are inquisitive. This is about learning what is hidden, what is taboo, having a discovery mindset. So thoughts may be consumed by fear or an inability to change if you're stuck in that lower vibration. So this full moon is wanting you to meditate on that, to contemplate on that, and break out of any of those entrapments of that fear and worry can bring, especially fear of change and loss. So reason and logic, right, that's Mercury, can be emotionally charged. It's in the sign of Cancer. It's one of the most emotional signs. And it's also in the 8th house, which if we look at the natural chart of Aries, the 8th house is represented by Scorpio. Scorpio is where moon is debilitated. So there is that connection there, that association with there being this vulnerability, this emotional restriction that we bring upon ourselves. So Jupiter is the ruler of Sagittarius and is opposing the moon. So this is really strong. Whenever the ruling planet aspects its house, it gives strength and power to that house. And in Jupiter's case, it's expanding, right? Jupiter expands, it grows. So this is about growing, whether spiritually or mentally, right? Evolving. And it's also the planet of abundance. Jupiter brings abundance. So these are some things to think about. 4th house has Saturn in it. So we can read this as Saturn is 4th from the moon. And anytime we have a planet in one of the angle houses, 1, 4, 7, or 10, they're never easy. The things here are very foundational, right? These are the pillars of life. And so the impact is very substantial. So Saturn 4th for the moon is putting boundaries around what we're connecting to, right? 4th house connection, including boundaries, limitations, and delays, but it's also restructuring the heart and emotional connections that we're making. Venus is in the 6th house, and Venus represents where we want to be happy, right? Venus is our comforts and desires and happiness and love, and it does not like being in the 6th house. So this is indicating some sort of discomfort here with the full moon. The things that you will be contemplating on, whether or not you're operating based on your beliefs or someone else's, that might feel uncomfortable, right? And then especially with Mercury in the 8th house of that uncomfortable, vulnerable position as well. So the Venus in the 6th house can make effort feel like work, can really make it feel unfun, lacking enjoyment, or lacking comfort. Now, Mars and Ketu are in the 9th house from the moon, and this is afflicting our higher knowledge and good fortune, right? Both of these planets are malefics. They represent the fire element. Ketu actually is considered to act like Mars, right? So we kind of have two Mars in the 9th house from the moon, which Mars likes to cut and bruise. Mars is that malefic energy that wants to destroy, whether it's to destroy for the good or to destroy for the bad. So this is that energy there in our 9th house. And Ketu is about detachment and withdrawal. So Ketu can make things feel detached from the ego, specifically because we're in Leo here in this 9th house, detached from the material world. And at the same time, Mars wants to act and protect the ego. So we have these kind of conflicting energies in the 9th house that are not making it very easy. But at the same time, if you don't resist the change, then that Mars energy is going to come through much more constructively. We also want to look at the 7th house, because in a full moon, the sun is opposing. Sun rules Leo, where Mars and Ketu are at. And so we look at where the sun is seated in the 7th house with Jupiter. Therefore, it's expanding these themes while simultaneously bringing them into focus, right? Wherever the sun is, it's like a beam of light. It's a headlight. It's putting that thing into focus during this time. So wherever Gemini is in your chart, there's been that focus for you for the last 2 weeks when we had the new moon in Gemini. So another thing we can look at in this chart of the moon is, where does the moon have its weakest point and where does the moon have its strongest point? So we know that the moon debilitates in Scorpio, and in this chart, Scorpio is in the 12th house. So this is showing a lack of strength, this is showing weakness and the inability to have that capacity for change. And the 12th house does bring in confusion. So there can be confusion around this time. Now we look at where moon is exalted, where it thrives. In this chart, it's in the 6th house in Taurus. And so this is showing that, we need to move past those feelings of escaping reality, which is what the 12th house is, where Scorpio is, that bring in confusion, and really embrace that 6th house energy, showing the need for hard work, effort, eating healthy, being of service to others, and most of all, not being your own obstacle in life, not getting in your own way. So that's something to think about during this full moon. I hope you found this helpful. If you watched it till the end, thank you so much. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, say hello. And also be sure to check out my website, lunarpersuasion.com. I have a blog post about this full moon for your sign and a lot of other things as well. So be sure to check it out, and I will see you in the next one.